The Great Hall of the Galaxy Council had never been so quiet. 500 species sat in their floating chairs, all staring at the small screen that showed a single word. No. Ambassador Zextai of the Hegemony looked at the screen again. His 4 eyes blinked slowly. In all his 300 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The message had come from Earth just 1 hour ago. 1 word. Nothing else. "This cannot be correct," said Council Chairman Veltarn. The ancient ethereal floated above his crystal throne, his blue light pulsing with confusion. "Run the translation software again." "We have run it 47 times, Zextai replied. "In every human language. The meaning is the same. They refuse our offer." The offer had been simple and fair. The humans would move their colonies from 12 star systems. In return, they would get mining rights in the Outer Ring. Every species in the galaxy had made such deals. It was how things worked. Everyone gave something. Everyone got something. Peace continued, but the humans had said no. "Perhaps they did not understand," suggested Commander Krexthul. The big warrior leaned forward, his red scales clicking against his chair. "Their species is young. Only 3,000 years since they discovered fire. Maybe they need more time to think." "We gave them 6 months, Zextai said. "That is longer than most species need for much bigger decisions." "They had plenty of time." "What exactly did they say?" asked Dr. Yathara. The Hegemony scientist was taking notes on her datapad. "Give us the complete message." Zextai touched his control panel. The human message played again. A woman's voice, calm and clear. "The United Earth government has reviewed your proposal. Our answer is no. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not relocate our people. We suggest you find another solution to your shipping lane problems. End of message." "That is all?" Chairman Veltarn asked. "That is all." They closed the communication channel immediately after. They have not responded to any of our attempts to contact them since. The council chamber erupted in noise. 500 species all talking at once. Some were angry. Some were confused. A few were laughing, thinking it was some kind of joke. Chairman Veltarn raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. "This is unprecedented. In 50,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has ever simply refused to negotiate. There must be a misunderstanding." "Should we send a diplomatic ship?" asked Ambassador Quindal of the Traders Union. "Perhaps face-to-face talks would help." "We tried that last month," Zextai said. "They refused to let our ship dock at any of their stations. They said all communication must go through official channels." "Which they then closed," added Commander Krexthul. Dr. Yathara looked up from her notes. "What do we know about human psychology? Perhaps they negotiate differently than other species." "Very little," admitted Zextai. "They have been members of the galactic community for only 200 years. Most contact has been trade-related. They buy our technology, sell us their food and raw materials. Standard new species behavior." "Have they ever been in a territorial dispute before?" Chairman Veltarn asked. "A few minor issues with the Centauri Republic over mining claims, but they settled those through normal negotiation. They gave up some claims, got others in return. Perfectly reasonable. Then why is this different?" Commander Krexthul demanded. "These are just colonies. Small ones. Maybe 2 million humans total across all 12 systems. They could relocate them easily." "Perhaps they cannot," suggested Ambassador Quindal. "Some species find it very expensive to move large populations." "We offered to pay all relocation costs," Zextai reminded them, "plus compensation for any losses. The offer was more than fair." "Too fair, maybe," Dr. Yathara said quietly. "When an offer sounds too good, some species become suspicious. They think there is a trap." Chairman Veltarn's light pulsed brighter. "What could they possibly think we want with those systems? They have no strategic value. The only reason we need them clear is for the new shipping lanes. Everyone benefits from better trade routes." "Everyone except the humans," pointed out Commander Krexthul. "They lose their colonies. They get better colonies in return." Zextai said, his voice rising. "The Outer Ring systems we offered have more resources, better planets. It is an upgrade for them. Then why did they refuse?" Nobody had an answer. For the next hour, the council debated. They proposed sending gifts. They suggested offering even better terms. Some wanted to involve the trade union as mediators. Others thought they should ask the ethereals to speak to the humans directly, since they were the oldest and wisest species in the galaxy. But underneath all the talk, A strange feeling was growing. It was something the Galaxy Council had not felt for thousands of years. Uncertainty. "Perhaps," said Chairman Veltarn finally, "we should learn more about these humans before we proceed. Dr. Yathara, I want you to assemble a research team. Study everything we know about human behavior, history, psychology, find out why they would make such an irrational decision." "Of course, Chairman. How long do I have?" 1 month. "The shipping companies are pressuring us for a decision. If we cannot resolve this quickly, they will demand we use enforcement measures." A chill went through the chamber. Enforcement measures meant military action. In the last 1,000 years, the Galaxy Council had only used force 3 times. Each time it had been against species that had attacked others. Never for something like this. "Surely it will not come to that," Ambassador Quindal said. "No species is foolish enough to fight the entire galaxy over a few colonies." "I hope you are right," Chairman Veltarn replied. But his tone suggested he was not sure. As the council session ended and the representatives returned to their ships, none of them noticed the small observation post at the edge of the system. It was an automated station, barely large enough for sensors and a communication array. It had been there for 50 years, quietly watching and listening. The humans had been very interested in the Galaxy Council lately, especially in how they handled disputes, how they made decisions, how they enforced those decisions. The data from today's session was already on its way to Earth, along with detailed scans of every ship in the area, every weapon system, every defensive capability. In the depths of space, construction ships worked day and night on projects that did not appear on any official records. Shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, military bases in dead systems, supply depots in places where no one ever looked. The humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. They had studied the Galaxy Council carefully. They had learned its rules, its procedures, its assumptions about how civilized species behaved, and they had decided those rules did not apply to them. The Galaxy Council thought the humans were being irrational. They thought it was about money or resources or simple misunderstanding. They were wrong. It was about something much more dangerous than that. It was about principle, and when humans decided something was a matter of principle, they became very different creatures than the peaceful traders the galaxy had come to know. The Council would learn this soon enough, but by then it would be too late to handle the situation the way they always had. The humans had said no. And they meant it. Dr. Yathara stared at her computer screen in horror. She had been studying human history for 3 weeks now, and every day brought new discoveries that made less sense than the last. "This cannot be accurate," she muttered, checking the translation software again. But the words remained the same. Humans had fought over 4,000 wars in their recorded history. 4,000. Most species had perhaps a dozen conflicts in their entire development. Her research team sat around the table in the Galaxy Council's archives, each looking as confused as she felt. Dr. Nexum, a peaceful Aquarian, kept shaking his head. Professor Qualth, who had studied military history for centuries, looked like he might be sick. "Perhaps we are misunderstanding their definition of war," suggested Dr. Nexum. "Maybe they call small disagreements wars." "I thought that too," Dr. Yathara replied. "But look at this." She brought up a file on the main screen. "This is what they call World War II. Over 70 million dead. In 6 years. That is more deaths than most species have in their entire population." 70 million? Professor Qualth whispered. "In 6 years? What were they fighting over? Survival of their species?" "No, politics, territory, ideology." Dr. Yathara scrolled through the data. "And this was not even their worst war by percentage of population. Look at what they did to each other in their ancient period. Sometimes they would kill every person in an entire city." "But surely," Dr. Nexum said hopefully, "they learned to be more peaceful as they developed?" Dr. Yathara pulled up another file. "This is from 200 years ago, just before they joined the galactic community. They built weapons that could destroy their entire planet. Then they built thousands of them. They called it mutually assured destruction." "That makes no sense," Professor Qualth said. "Why would anyone build weapons they could never use?" "But they were willing to use them. Look at this." She showed them a recording of a human leader from that time, an old man with white hair standing at a podium. "We will never surrender. We would rather see our world burn than live under tyranny." The three scientists sat in silence for a long moment. Maybe, Dr. Nexum said quietly, this is just their leaders talking. Surely their people are more reasonable. Dr. Yathara brought up more files. I found records of their civilian populations during wartime. In their world wars when their cities were being bombed, the people did not surrender. They worked harder, built more weapons, sent their children to fight. There are recordings of mothers telling their sons to come back with your shielder on it. What does that mean? Professor Qualth asked. Come back victorious or dead. No other option was acceptable. Dr. Nexum looked pale. What about their surrender protocols? Every species has ways to end conflicts when they become too costly. That is the strangest part, Dr. Yathara said. She pulled up a section of human military doctrine. They do have surrender protocols, but only for individuals. As a species, as nations, they seem to have a concept called unconditional surrender. It means the enemy must give up everything or the war continues until one side is completely destroyed. Complete destruction? Professor Qualth stood up and began pacing. That is not war. That is extinction protocol. No rational species fights to extinction over territory or resources. Humans do. Look at this battle. She showed them a historical recording. Stalingrad. The humans fought for months over one city. They fought in the streets, in the buildings, in the sewers. When they ran out of ammunition, they fought with knives and rocks. The losing side lost over 1 million soldiers, but they kept fighting until every building was rubble. Over one city? Dr. Nexum asked weakly. It was not even a particularly important city by their standards, but once the fighting started, neither side would give up. The humans have a saying, no retreat, no surrender. Professor Qualth stopped pacing. What about negotiations during conflict? Surely they paused to discuss terms. Sometimes. But look at their negotiation tactics. Dr. Yathara brought up more records. When they are winning, they demand unconditional surrender. When they are losing, they often refuse to negotiate at all. They have another saying, give me liberty or give me death. Death rather than compromise. Dr. Nexum looked like he might faint. How did such a species survive long enough to develop space travel? By being very good at war, Dr. Yathara said grimly. Look at their technological development. Most species develop agriculture, medicine, art, then eventually weapons. Humans developed weapons alongside everything else. Sometimes first. They invented gunpowder and used it for fireworks and mining, but also immediately made guns and cannons. She pulled up a timeline. Nuclear power? They used it for bombs before they used it for electricity. Rockets, military weapons first, space exploration second. Even their internet was originally a military communication system. This is insane, Professor Qualth said. How did the Galaxy Council approve them for membership? Because for the last 200 years they have been peaceful, Dr. Yathara explained. They trade fairly, follow galactic law, contribute to scientific research. Perfect citizens, then what changed? Dr. Yathara was quiet for a moment. I do not think anything changed. I think we never understood what we were dealing with. Look at this. She showed them recent human communications intercepted by Galaxy Council intelligence. Military frequencies encrypted but now decoded. Fleet Group Alpha reports readiness status green. All defensive positions fortified and supplied. Construction of Firebase 7 is ahead of schedule. Planetary defense grid will be operational in 6 weeks. Request permission to move the Hammer fleet to forward positions. If diplomacy fails, we need to be ready. Dr. Nexum looked confused. What is a Hammer fleet? Dr. Yathara checked her notes. According to their military classification, it is a fleet designed for total system destruction. The ships carry weapons capable of destroying planets. They would destroy planets over a relocation dispute? There is more. Dr. Yathara pulled up the most disturbing intercept. A message from the human military to their colonies. Prepare for full mobilization. If they want our worlds, they will have to take them from our cold, dead hands. The room was completely silent. Finally, Professor Qualth spoke. We need to inform the Council immediately. This species is not behaving rationally. They are preparing for total war over a simple territorial adjustment. But why? Dr. Nexum asked. What could be worth such a terrible cost? Dr. Yathara had been wondering the same thing. She had studied human philosophy, religion, and culture looking for answers. What she found was even more disturbing than their military history. I think, she said slowly, It is not about the colonies themselves. It is about the principle. Humans seem to believe that some things are worth dying for. Freedom, independence, the right to make their own choices. They call it honor. Honor? Professor Qualth looked puzzled. That is an ancient concept. Most species abandoned such thinking thousands of years ago. Humans did not. Look at their culture, their stories, their movies, their heroes. They celebrate people who died rather than give up their principles. They have monuments to soldiers who fought hopeless battles rather than surrender. Dr. Yathara brought up one final file. This is their response to our latest diplomatic message. We offered them even better terms yesterday. More worlds, more resources, more compensation. She played the recording. The same calm female voice. The United Earth government appreciates your generous offer. Our position remains unchanged. We will not abandon our colonies under any circumstances. Please do not contact us again regarding this matter. They will not even negotiate, Dr. Nexum said in amazement. Because to them this is not a negotiation, Dr. Yathara realized. This is a test of wills, and they have decided they would rather die than fail that test. Professor Qualth sat down heavily. We have to warn the Council. If they try to force the humans to relocate, it will not be a police action. It will be a war of extinction. But surely the humans are not that foolish, Dr. Nexum protested. They cannot fight the entire galaxy. Dr. Yathara looked at her research one more time. Battle after battle where humans had fought against impossible odds. Sometimes they won through clever tactics or determination. Sometimes they lost and died to the last soldier. But they never, ever gave up. I do not think, she said quietly, that will stop them from trying. Chairman Veltarn read Dr. Yathara's report 3 times. Each reading made him more confused than the last. The conclusion seemed impossible. A species that chose war over negotiation, that preferred death to compromise. It went against everything he knew about intelligent life. This cannot be accurate, he told the Emergency Council session. No species survives to develop space travel with such destructive tendencies. The evidence is clear, Dr. Yathara replied from her position at the speaker's platform. Humans have a fundamentally different approach to conflict resolution than any species we have encountered. Ambassador Zextai shifted in his chair. Perhaps we simply need to apply more pressure. Economic sanctions have always worked before. I recommend caution, Dr. Yathara warned. Human history suggests they respond to pressure by becoming more aggressive, not less. Commander Krexthul laughed. They are one species against 500. Even if they fight, it will be over quickly. Sometimes a show of force is the only thing young species understand. I must protest this approach, Dr. Yathara said. My research indicates that humans interpret any aggressive action as a declaration of war. They do not surrender when faced with superior force. They fight harder, but the Council was tired of waiting. The shipping companies were demanding action. Trade routes needed to be opened. The Galaxy Council had made a decision, and it would be enforced. We will begin with economic sanctions, Chairman Veltarn announced. Cut off all trade with human space. Freeze their assets in galactic banks. Block their access to galactic communication networks. They will see reason quickly enough. The sanctions began within hours. Every trade ship heading to human space was turned back. Human merchants found their accounts locked. Their diplomatic channels went dark. The Galaxy Council waited for the humans to reconsider. They waited 2 weeks. The humans said nothing, perhaps. The message is not getting through, suggested Ambassador Quindal. With their communications blocked, they might not understand what is happening. Open a single channel, Chairman Veltarn ordered. Send them one message explaining the situation. Tell them the sanctions will end when they agree to relocate. The message was sent. The human response came back within an hour. Sanctions noted. Our position remains unchanged. Earth out. Ambassador Zextai slammed his hand on his desk. This is insane. They must be feeling the economic pressure. How can they just ignore it? The answer came from Galaxy Council intelligence 3 days later. Spy satellites watching human space reported something unexpected. Instead of weakening, the human colonies were becoming more active. Mining operations had increased. Construction projects were expanding. Most disturbing, military shipyards were working around the clock. They are not trying to force us to lift the sanctions, the intelligence officer reported. They are adapting to them. Their colonies are becoming self-sufficient. In 3 weeks, Commander Krexthul demanded. Impossible. They appear to have been preparing for this possibility for years. Hidden supply depots, backup communication networks, independent manufacturing facilities. The sanctions are not crippling them. They are just making them more isolated. Chairman Veltarn felt a chill run through his crystalline body. What about diplomatic pressure? Perhaps we can convince some of their neighbors to mediate. We tried, Ambassador Zextai reported. The Centauri Republic offered to help. The humans told them that any species that supported the Galaxy Council's actions would be considered hostile. Hostile? They threatened the Centauri. Not threatened, warned, there is a difference. They said they understood the Centauri had to make their own choices, but those choices would have consequences. And what was the Centauri response? Ambassador Zextai looked uncomfortable. They decided to remain neutral. They do not want to get involved in what they called a human territorial dispute. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. The idea that anyone would be afraid of human consequences was ridiculous. Humans had a small fleet, limited resources, no allies. What could they possibly do? Perhaps, suggested Ambassador Quindal carefully, we should try a demonstration of force. Send a fleet to the border of human space, not to attack, just to show them what they are facing. Excellent idea, Commander Krexthul agreed. I will lead the mission myself. One look at a proper military fleet will remind them of reality. Dr. Yathara stood up from her observer's seat. I must protest this course of action. Everything in my research suggests your research is based on ancient history, Commander Krexthul interrupted. These humans have been part of galactic civilization for 2 centuries. They know how things work. A show of force will remind them. Then let me come with the fleet, Dr. Yathara pleaded. If I am wrong, I will personally apologize to the Council. But if I am right, you will need someone who understands human psychology. Chairman Veltarn considered this. Very well. Dr. Yathara will accompany the demonstration fleet as an observer. The Galaxy Council fleet that assembled at the edge of human space was impressive. 50 ships including 2 dreadnoughts and a carrier, enough firepower to destroy entire worlds. Commander Krexthul was confident that the sight of such overwhelming force would make the humans reconsider. The fleet stopped just outside the boundary of human territory and broadcast a message. This is Commander Krexthul of the Galaxy Council fleet. We are here to demonstrate the consequences of defying galactic law. You have 1 hour to respond with a timetable for colony relocation. The human response came back in 30 minutes. Galaxy Council fleet. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are approaching the sovereign territory of the United Earth Government. Turn around immediately or you will be fired upon. Commander Krexthul laughed so hard he had to turn off his microphone. Fire upon us with what? Their entire fleet could not damage one of our dreadnoughts. Commander, Dr. Yathara said urgently, look at your sensor readings. Krexthul looked. His laughter died immediately. The humans had not sent a fleet to meet them. They had sent 1 ship, a single small vessel that was broadcasting active targeting signals at the Galaxy Council fleet. 1 ship? Krexthul whispered. They sent 1 ship to face 50? Sir, his sensor officer called out. That ship is armed with nuclear weapons. Lots of them. Nuclear weapons? Dr. Yathara felt sick. Commander, you need to withdraw immediately. Nuclear weapons are banned by galactic law, Krexthul said automatically. No civilized species uses such primitive, destructive weapons. Humans do, Dr. Yathara reminded him, and they do not consider themselves bound by laws they did not help make. The human ship was getting closer. Its targeting systems were locked onto the Galaxy Council fleet's flagship. This is Admiral Chen. You have ignored our warning. You are now in violation of Earth territorial space. Withdraw immediately or we will open fire. Sir, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. That ship has enough nuclear weapons to destroy half our fleet. But they would die too, Krexthul protested. 1 ship against 50? It would be suicide. Dr. Yathara pulled up her research files on her portable computer. Commander, look at this. It is called a kamikaze attack. Humans have used suicide tactics throughout their history when facing superior forces. That is insane. To us? Yes. To them, it is honorable death rather than surrender. Admiral Chen, this is Commander Krexthul. We are not here to attack. This is a diplomatic mission. Diplomacy is conducted through proper channels, not by bringing armed fleets to our borders. You have 10 minutes to begin withdrawal. Krexthul looked at his own fleet. 50 ships, thousands of crew members. Could the humans really be crazy enough to start a shooting war over this? Would they really sacrifice themselves just to take some of his fleet with them? He looked at Dr. Yathara's research. Battle after battle where humans had chosen death over surrender, where they had fought against impossible odds just to prove they could not be broken. Fleet Command, this is Krexthul. Begin withdrawal, sir? His communications officer asked in confusion. You heard me. Begin withdrawal. Now. As the Galaxy Council fleet turned and moved away from human space, Admiral Chen's ship followed them to the border, weapons still armed and ready. Commander, Dr. Yathara said quietly, you made the right choice. Krexthul was staring at his sensor readings. The human ship was old, outdated, probably held together with spare parts, but it had been ready to die to protect human territory. Dr. Yathara, he said slowly, what happens when an entire species thinks like that? When they are all willing to die rather than compromise? I do not know, Commander, but I think we are about to find out. Back on the Galaxy Council station, Chairman Veltarn received Commander Krexthul's report in stunned silence. A demonstration of force that had accomplished nothing except proving that humans were willing to fight against any odds. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Galaxy Council had backed down from a confrontation. Not because they could not win, but because the cost of winning might be too high. And somewhere in the depths of space, the humans continued their preparations. Because to them this had not been a victory. It had been a warning that was ignored. They would not give another one. The Galaxy Council's emergency session had been going for 18 hours straight. Representatives floated in their chairs, exhausted and confused. The human situation was spiraling beyond anything they had ever experienced. Explain to me again, Chairman Veltarn said wearily, how 3 human cargo ships destroyed an entire Hegemony patrol squadron. Admiral Zekthon of the Hegemony Navy stood at the report station, his forearms trembling with rage and disbelief. They rammed us. 3 cargo ships loaded with explosives deliberately crashed into our vessels at maximum speed. Suicide attacks, Dr. Yathara said quietly from her seat. I warned about this in my reports. But these were not military ships, Admiral Zekthon continued. They were civilian vessels, merchants. We had stopped them for a routine inspection outside the Proxima system. And they chose to die rather than be searched? Ambassador Quindal asked in horror. Apparently, the cargo manifests we recovered from the wreckage showed they were carrying medical supplies to human colonies. Nothing illegal, nothing worth dying for. To us, Dr. Yathara corrected. To them it was about principle. They saw the inspection as harassment, an insult to their sovereignty. Commander Krexthul leaned forward. How many crew died? 12 humans, Admiral Zekthon replied. They took 43 of my people with them. The chamber fell silent. 43 dead over a routine inspection. It was unthinkable. What about the mining station incident? Chairman Veltarn asked. Captain Hillax of the Aquarian Defense Force took the podium. His usually calm demeanor was shaken. We attempted to establish a temporary base on asteroid AG-447. It appeared to be unclaimed territory. But it was in human space? Technically on the border. The asteroid had no human facilities, no markers, no signs of occupation. According to galactic law, it was open for development. What happened? Captain Hillax pulled up a recording. The humans arrived 6 hours after we began construction. 1 ship. They demanded we leave immediately. Did you explain the legal situation? Of course. We showed them the territorial maps, the legal precedents, the proper filing procedures. The asteroid was clearly in unclaimed space. And their response? The recording played. A human voice, calm but firm. This asteroid is in human space. You have 1 hour to pack up and leave. This is your only warning. We tried to negotiate, Captain Hillax continued. We offered to share the mining rights, to pay them compensation, to file joint claims. They refused all discussion. So what did you do? We continued construction. We thought they were bluffing. 1 ship against our entire engineering fleet? We had 20 vessels, full mining equipment, defensive weapons. Chairman Veltarn already knew where this was going. They attacked? Not immediately. They waited exactly 1 hour. Then they sent another message. You had your warning, goodbye. The recording continued. Space filled with nuclear explosions as the single human ship attacked the Aquarian fleet. But this was not the surgical strike of a military operation. This was something else entirely. They destroyed everything, Captain Hillax whispered. Mining equipment, supply ships, even the rescue vessels we sent. When we tried to retreat, they followed us. They hunted down every single ship. Casualties? 230 dead. No survivors from the mining operation. They kept shooting until everything was destroyed, then they destroyed the asteroid itself. They destroyed the asteroid? Ambassador Zextai asked in shock. Completely. If they could not have it, they made sure no one could. The entire asteroid field is now radioactive debris. Dr. Yathara was taking notes frantically. This was exactly what her research had predicted, but seeing it happen was still shocking. Did they try to capture any of your people? Take prisoners for negotiation? No prisoners. No survivors. No negotiation. They just eliminated everything. The chamber erupted in frightened voices. This was not how galactic conflicts worked. There were rules, protocols, civilized ways of handling disputes. What the humans were doing was not war as the galaxy understood it. It was extermination, order. Chairman Veltarn called. We need to understand what we are dealing with. Dr. Yathara, explain this behavior. Dr. Yathara stood slowly. What you are seeing is human total war doctrine. When they decide something is worth fighting for, they commit completely. No half measures, no limited engagements, no rules except victory or death. But this makes no military sense. Commander Krexthul protested. They are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. They cannot win a total war against the entire galaxy. That may not matter to them. Look at their message traffic. Dr. Yathara brought up intercepted communications on the main screen. They are not talking about winning. They are talking about making victory too expensive for us. The messages were chilling in their simplicity. New Delhi command to all colonies. Prepare for siege protocols. If they want our worlds, make them pay for every meter. Earth defense to Titan base. Begin deployment of the scorched earth packages. If we cannot hold a system, deny it to the enemy. Colonial command to all civilian populations. Evacuation is voluntary. Anyone who chooses to stay will be considered part of the defense force. What are scorched earth packages? Ambassador Quindal asked nervously. Dr. Yathara checked her files. Devices designed to destroy everything of value in a system if it cannot be defended. Planets, moons, space stations, everything reduced to radioactive rubble. They would destroy their own colonies. Rather than let them be captured, yes. It is an old human military strategy. If you cannot keep something, make sure your enemy cannot use it either. Chairman Veltarn felt his energy field flickering with stress. What about their civilian populations? Surely they are not all willing to die for this. According to our intercepts, evacuation ships are available for anyone who wants to leave, but most are staying. Most? Dr. Yathara pulled up more messages. Civilian communications from human colonies, not leaving. This is our home. If they want it, they can take it from our dead hands. Kids are off-world, but me and James are staying. Someone needs to man the defense guns. Been here 40 years. Not about to run now. Send more ammunition. This is insanity, Admiral Zekthon declared. Civilian populations do not voluntarily stay in war zones. Human civilian populations do, Dr. Yathara replied. Their entire history is filled with examples. Besieged cities where people chose to starve rather than surrender. Civilian resistance movements that fought occupying armies for decades. But what do they hope to accomplish? Ambassador Quindal demanded. Even if they make it expensive for us, they will still lose everything. Maybe. But they will also inflict massive casualties on us. And they know that eventually the rest of the galaxy will ask if a few trade routes are worth millions of dead. The truth of this hit the chamber like a cold wind. The Galaxy Council represented hundreds of species, billions of beings who had chosen civilization over barbarism. How many of them would be willing to die for shipping routes? How many would support a war that turned solar systems into graveyards? There has to be another solution, Chairman Veltarn said desperately. Some way to reach a compromise. We have tried every diplomatic approach, Ambassador Zextai reminded him. They will not negotiate. They will not even discuss alternatives. What if we offered them more territory, better trade deals, full council membership? Dr. Yathara shook her head. It is not about what they get. It is about what they give up. To them, relocating those colonies would be admitting that their sovereignty means nothing, that they can be pushed around by anyone with a bigger fleet. So what do they want? Recognition. They want us to acknowledge that human space belongs to humans, that we cannot just decide to move them around for our convenience. But we need those shipping lanes. Then find another route. Build around their territory. Pay them for passage rights. Anything except trying to force them to move. Commander Krexthal was studying tactical displays on his personal screen. Dr. Yathura, what happens if we just leave them alone? Ignore their territory completely? According to their public statements, nothing. They will continue normal trade relations, scientific cooperation, all the usual interactions. They just want to be left alone to govern their own space. And if we try to force them? Dr. Yathura looked around the chamber at the hundreds of species representatives. Then you will have a war unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Not a conflict over resources or territory, but an extinction war. They will try to kill as many of us as possible before they die. How many could they actually kill? Admiral Zekthon asked grimly. Unknown, but consider this. They have been preparing for this possibility for decades. They have weapons we have never seen, tactics we do not understand, and a willingness to sacrifice everything for their principles. Dr. Yathura brought up one final intercept, a message from the human military command that had been decoded just hours ago. All fleets report ready status. Project Prometheus is armed and operational. If the Council forces relocation of any human colony, execute final option protocols. Let them know what it costs to make humans homeless. What is Project Prometheus? Chairman Veltarn asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. We do not know. It is their most classified military project. But based on the resources they have devoted to it and the way they talk about it, the Galaxy Council chamber had never seen anything like it. For 3 days, representatives had been arriving with the same message. Their governments would not support military action against the humans. Ambassador Fel Nara of the Crystalline Collective spoke first. My people have reviewed all available intelligence. The potential casualties are unacceptable. We withdraw our support for enforcement action. The Trade Federation agrees, announced Director Kexval. Our economic models show that war with the humans would cost more than the shipping routes are worth. One by one, species after species stood to announce their withdrawal from the coalition. The Aquarians, still mourning their mining fleet casualties, wanted no part of further conflict. The Centauri Republic had declared complete neutrality. Even the warrior Krexthal had stopped advocating for military action after reviewing human tactical capabilities. Chairman Veltarn watched his carefully built consensus crumble. 50,000 years of galactic law and order, and it was falling apart because one stubborn species refused to be reasonable. This is exactly what they wanted. Ambassador Zextai said bitterly. They knew they could not defeat us militarily, so they made victory too expensive politically. Dr. Yathura was monitoring human communications from her station. They are not celebrating, she reported. Their fleets remain at maximum readiness. They still expect us to attack. Maybe we should, Admiral Zekthon muttered. Show the galaxy that defying the Council has consequences. With what forces? Commander Krexthal asked. Half our member species have withdrawn support. The other half are demanding guarantees that their home systems will not be targeted by human retaliation weapons. What do you mean, retaliation weapons? Dr. Yathura pulled up the latest intelligence reports. Project Prometheus was not just one weapon system. It was dozens. Our scouts have identified at least 40 installations in human space capable of launching stellar destabilization devices. 40? Chairman Veltarn's light flickered with shock. They appear to have targeted the home systems of every major Council species. If we attack them, they are prepared to take our capitals with them. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. The idea that humans would target civilian populations was horrifying enough. The fact that they had the weapons to actually do it was terrifying. But surely they would not actually use such weapons. Ambassador Quindal protested. The casualties would be in the trillions. Dr. Yathura, Chairman Veltarn said quietly, in your professional opinion, would they use these weapons? Dr. Yathura looked at her research files one more time. Centuries of human conflicts. Thousands of examples of their willingness to choose death over surrender. Yes, she said simply. If we force them to choose between destruction and submission, they will choose destruction. For themselves and for us. This is madness, Admiral Zekthon declared. No rational species behaves this way. That is the problem, Dr. Yathura replied. We keep thinking of them as rational by our standards, but they operate by a completely different logic. To them, there are things worse than death, such as slavery, subjugation, being forced to abandon their principles. Dr. Yathara pulled up a human cultural text. They have a saying, better to die on your feet than live on your knees. They mean it literally. Chairman Veltarn considered their options. Military action was impossible without broader support, and that support was evaporating as species realized the true cost of fighting humans. Economic pressure had failed completely. Diplomatic solutions had been rejected. What if, he said slowly, we simply declared the disputed systems to be human territory, recognized their sovereignty completely? The shipping companies would never accept it. Ambassador Zextai protested. Those routes are worth billions of credits. The shipping companies can find other routes, or pay humans for passage rights. Pay them for territory they should have given up freely? Dr. Yathara looked up from her communications monitor. Chairman, I am receiving a transmission from Earth. It is marked as urgent. Put it through. The main screen lit up with the image of a human woman. She was older, with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice was strong and clear. This is President Elizabeth Santos of the United Earth Government. I am addressing the Galaxy Council for the first time in this crisis, and I hope it will be the last time. The chamber fell silent. For months you have tried to force my people to abandon our homes. You have imposed sanctions, threatened us with fleets, and attacked our civilians. Throughout all of this, we have shown remarkable restraint. Restraint? Admiral Zekthon whispered. They call destroying our fleets restraint? President Santos continued. But that restraint is not unlimited. Our intelligence services inform us that you are planning a major military operation against human space. I am here to tell you that this would be a mistake. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We do not want war. We never wanted war. All we wanted was to be left alone in our own territory. But if you force this conflict upon us, we will respond with everything we have. The image changed to show star charts. Red dots marked human military installations throughout their territory. These are our defensive positions. As you can see, we are prepared for your attack. But we are also prepared for something else. The chart zoomed out to show the entire galaxy. New red dots appeared scattered throughout council space. These are our retaliation targets. Every major population center, every important world, every species that supports military action against us. If you destroy our colonies, we will destroy your civilizations. The chamber erupted in shouts of outrage and fear. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy, Ambassador Zextai declared. President Santos seemed to hear him. We are not threatening anyone. We are stating facts. If you leave us alone, we will leave you alone. If you attack us, we will respond in kind. The choice is yours. This is terrorism, Admiral Zekthon shouted. No, President Santos replied calmly. This is deterrence. The same strategy that kept peace on Earth for over 2 centuries. Mutual assured destruction. You attack us, we destroy you, everyone dies. Very simple. Chairman Veltarn found his voice. What do you want from us? Recognition of human sovereignty over our current territory. A formal agreement that the Galaxy Council will not attempt to relocate human populations without our consent. And an apology for the civilians you killed in your unprovoked attacks. An apology? Admiral Zekthon was turning purple with rage. You killed our people, after you entered our territory uninvited and refused to leave when warned. We defended ourselves. You committed aggression. Dr. Yathara was checking legal databases frantically. Chairman, according to galactic law, she is correct. The attacks on human vessels occurred in neutral or disputed space, but the mining station incident was clearly in human territory. So what are our options? Chairman Veltarn asked wearily. President Santos provided the answer. You have 48 hours to decide. Either recognize human sovereignty and formally apologize for your aggression, or face the consequences of continued conflict. There will be no further negotiations, no compromise positions, no middle ground. Choose. The transmission ended. The Galaxy Council sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Ambassador Quindal spoke. They are serious, are they not? They would actually destroy the galaxy rather than give up their colonies. Yes, Dr. Yathara confirmed. Everything in their psychology, their history, their culture supports this. They are not bluffing. Then what choice do we have? Chairman Veltarn asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. Representative Kilneth of the Peaceful Makers, a species known for their pacifist philosophy, stood to address the chamber. Perhaps, he said quietly, The question is not what choice we have, but why we are making this choice at all. What have we gained by forcing this confrontation? Some shipping routes? Some territory that was never really ours? We gained the maintenance of galactic law and order, Ambassador Zextai protested. Did we? Or did we learn that our law and order only work when everyone agrees to follow them? The humans never agreed to our territorial decisions. We simply assumed they would comply because everyone else does. Representative Kilneth looked around the chamber. Maybe it is time to accept that the galaxy has changed. That there are species who value different things than we do. That peaceful coexistence requires respecting those differences, not forcing conformity. Chairman Veltarn considered this. 50,000 years of galactic civilization, built on the principle that all conflicts could be resolved through negotiation and compromise. But what happened when you encountered a species that saw compromise as surrender? You adapted, or you died. I call for a formal vote, Chairman Veltarn announced. All in favor of recognizing human territorial sovereignty and offering formal apologies for our actions in this conflict. The vote was not even close. 437 species voted in favor, only 37 opposed. The rest abstained. The Galaxy Council, for the first time in its history, had completely surrendered to the demands of another species. 24 hours later, President Santos received the formal recognition documents and the official apology. Her response was brief, "Thank you. Normal diplomatic relations will resume immediately. Earth out."